This program sponsored in part by Amtrak's Coast Starlight, traveling between Los Angeles and Seattle. You reach your destination the moment you step aboard.
If you like trains, you're going to love this trip. If you like Mexico, you're going to love this trip.
This is a unique journey, the Copper Canyon. You have to see it. It's another world.
Train is still the only way to go across the Sierra.
When the persons come here, they say, "Oh!"
Nogales, in the state of Sonora, is where this railway adventure into Mexico's Copper Canyon begins. This bustling border town is most visitors' first, if not completely authentic, exposure to Mexico. The adventurous rail traveler has several options for reaching Copper Canyon by train. This particular journey will be aboard the luxurious rail cars of the Tucson, Arizona-based Sierra Madre Express. Family-owned, Tauk Tours is the organizer of this comfortable and stylish adventure into one of North America's last wildernesses.
Saludos, amigos.
Looks like it's gonna be.
The Sierra Madre Express operates with the permission of the Mexican federal government. Sierra Madre cars are pulled by locomotives run by crews of the Mexican National Railroad. The train's Mexican hosts work hand in hand with American train staff to assure the safety and comfort of passengers. The train travels through the night, traverses the Sonoran Desert, and skirts the Sea of Cortez. Just after dawn, it heads northeast to Copper Canyon country. For Sierra Madre Express's Peter Robbins, this leg is a vital part of the adventure.
If you simply fly into Mexico in an airplane and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make a 6 o'clock train to go see the canyon, you're upset. You're not down to speed. And on our particular trip, traveling 400 miles south takes 24 hours. And it gives everybody a chance to slow down, relax, and get ready to see Mexico.
What time do we get there, folks? Right after the engine. Right after the engine. As we head south of the
Ray
border
Shattuck
tonight,
is Tauk Tour's
we're gonna
guide
leave
to the
behind
Copper Canyon.
telephones. No fax, no TV. We are going back, and we're going to take you back in time.
The Mexican spirit of compañero, or comradeship, evolves as the excited travelers discuss the coming days over a delicious meal.
I can't imagine how it's going to be.
Canyon.
Right. The one we've heard so much about that.
Morning brings a cornucopia of sights, sounds, smells, and experiences. This week-long journey is a sensuous delight that stirs the mind and soothes the soul.
As we get started this morning, coming up ahead of us, we are going to be approaching the longest of our 37 bridges and 88 tunnels as we make our way up into and through the Copper Canyon region this morning. 6 major canyons, 6 major rivers on our way up to 7,000 feet.
The first morning, the train climbs steadily through the western foothills of the Sierra Madre Occidental to the Sierra Tarahumara. Copper Canyon is the popular name for a collection of chasms that is larger and deeper than the Grand Canyon of the Colorado River. El Descanso is the longest tunnel on the entire journey, nearly 6,000 feet long. It takes the train almost 2 minutes to travel its inky span. The Chihuahua El Pacifico Railway through the Sierra Tarahumara Mountains is a marvel of design, assistance, and construction skill.
Well, there it is. You can see it.
This 1,000-foot-long bridge spans the Rio Chinipas. It's the highest of the 37 bridges on the route. We are precariously perched 355 feet above the water. Just a bit further down the track, we cross a shorter but still breathtaking bridge over another stretch of the Chinipas. The exhilaration of the crossing is only enhanced by the fact that the bridge appears to be burning and only partially assembled. It's of little consolation that there's plenty of water only a few hundred feet below the rails. The train's route parallels the course of the Rio Septentrion as it enters the steepest part of the canyon. The desert vegetation of the Sinaloan thorn forest zone gives way to lush woodland. Palm, banana, and even mango trees can be found here. Passengers may explore the train as it rolls at a leisurely pace through the mountains. The rebuilt Pullman coaches of the Sierra Madre Express feature sleepers, a dome, and a lounge car. Peter Robbins spent nearly a decade rebuilding rail cars before the first tour in 1987.
We had mortgaged everything we owned, the house and the car, to get some money for the first trips. And as the years went by, we would add and build 1 car, and then it would be a 3-car train, and then it was a 4-car train. And so little by little, it's grown. It's a very special little train. It will never be a great big commercial operation, and I think that's kind of the joy in how Sierra Madre Express operates.
All the coaches have their special charms. The most popular is the one-of-a-kind Divisadero car, with its combination open-air lounge and observation platform.
You can smell Mexico, you can hear Mexico, you're actually participating in the sights, sounds, and smells of Mexico.
You get all kinds of falcons and hawks. We saw earlier the osprey that were perched on the cactus. Up here, the most common one that we'll see is the turkey vulture, the black vulture. Yeah, they circle around. Yeah, waiting.
In this most beautiful stretch of the journey, the train continues to follow the course of the Rio Septentrion. The route is hemmed in by the rising canyon walls of the 10,000 square mile area of intersecting canyons collectively known as the Barrancas del Cobre, or Copper Canyon. This can be a harsh and unforgiving land. Building a rail line through here was a formidable design and engineering challenge.
You wouldn't get into a Jeep and toot around in this kind of country. This is pretty wild country. And you go 100 yards off the side of the tracks, and you can go places where white people haven't gone, period.
A rail line connecting the American heartland to Mexico's west coast was a commercial dream. In the late 1800s, American utopian colonist Albert K. Owen began but was soon forced to abandon construction. Railroad magnate and high-powered promoter Arthur E. Stilwell stepped in. One of Stilwell's construction contractors was the legendary Pancho Villa. During the Mexican Revolution, Villa the rail builder became Villa the scourge of the railroad. The Mexican government finally took over the project and construction resumed in the 1940s.
Another scenic view.
Another bridge coming up, which is the Santa Barbara Bridge, 714 feet.
This is Tunnel 50 we're going through. That's our last tunnel before we approach tomorrow.
Of the many engineering masterpieces on this journey, the most amazing are the bridges, tunnels, and loops at Tamariz. The train crosses the exquisite Santa Barbara Bridge, passes through the village of Tamariz, and begins its climb up the Western Canyon Wall. It's appropriate that here, on November 23, 1961, the Ferrocarril Chihuahua al Pacifico was dedicated. Construction took nearly 90 years at a cost of more than $100 million. This huge metal sign, constructed of rails 22 feet long with letters 2 feet high, commemorates completion. Steep rock faces made building conventional switchbacks impossible. This 3,074-foot-long tunnel makes a 180-degree turn. The train emerges some 70 seconds later, headed in the opposite direction and still climbing. Passengers can peer down at the 3 levels of track they've just traversed. As the train reaches the upper canyon, the vegetation changes to fragrant pine and hardwood forests. The air freshens. At nearly a mile above sea level, Bawa Chivo is the jumping-off point for a visit to the little village of Saracawi. High in the remote wilderness of the Sierra Madre Occidental, this is the wild frontier of northwest Mexico. Saracawi sits in a pleasantly temperate valley dotted with apple orchards. The heart of the village is the old Jesuit mission of San Francisco. To many visitors, Old Mexico means the Spanish colonial period. This mission and the village that came to surround it was founded in 1680 by the Jesuit padre Juan Maria de Salvatierra. The church's gilded dome was finished in 1741. In 1940, Father Andres Lara began a reconstruction of the chapel's exterior. The Jesuits continue to conduct their mission here. Near the church, the mission operates a boarding school for native Tarahumara children. The Tarahumara are so isolated that if a parent wants their children to be educated, they must send them to this school from as far away as 150 miles. Today, the children prepare for the annual Independence Day parade. Next to the church is the Hotel Mission, owned by Roberto Balderrama. Senor Balderrama pioneered the establishment of first-class hotels in Copper Canyon country. His hotels are distinguished by their pleasant personal service. The picturesque setting and pace of life make Saracawe a particularly special destination.
Saracawe is a unique village, a real Mexican Tarahumara village. Dates back to 1690 as a mission of Jesuits to convert the Tarahumara Indians. So that little village stays for the centuries, the same way of living. That's the different thing from Saracawe, from the rest of the towns of the Copper Canyon. So I decided to build a hotel there for adventurers, for tourists. They are looking for different places. The real old Mexico is in Saracawe.
It's been said there's nothing so good for the inside of a man as the outside of a horse. To explore the Sierra Tarahumara on horseback is to see it the way the missionaries and conquistadors saw it more than 300 years ago. Local ranchers outfit day trips to various scenic and historical sites. The willing, if sometimes headstrong steeds, are a pleasant way to travel through the countryside. This outing's destination is the beautiful Huicochic Falls. The horseback ride is about an hour long, followed by a 30-minute hike to the waterfall. It's definitely a trip for the adventurous traveler. The experience and the destination are well worth the effort.
We don't have beaches, we don't have tennis or golf. This is a different kind of vacation. As an adventure, I would say that you have the beauty, the romance, and the adventure for a place, and it's part of the trip to Copper Canyon.
As the train pushes deeper into canyon country, the magnificence of the views and the difficulty of the terrain are breathtaking. The geologic forces that created the spectacular scenery also created the greatest obstacles for the builders of the railroad. An engineering marvel, the Lalaha Bridge, 695 feet long, is the second highest on the route of the Chihuahua El Pacifico. What makes the bridge remarkable is that it is followed immediately by a tunnel. This combination was a tricky problem for the builders of the line. The canyon bottom is narrow and maze-like. The rock walls are sheer. It's rock that can't be built around. It's rock that had to be punched through.
It was extremely dangerous work because in the early days when this was built, a lot of the safety requirements that are now taken as commonplace weren't in place. So a lot of people were killed building the tunnels. There would be unexpected landslides, cave-ins inside of the tunnels. The longest tunnel, El Descanso, is a mile long. And then there are a whole bunch of short tunnels, little short tunnels. And it was done by back-breaking hand work in the early days.
Today, the train glides smoothly from tunnel to tunnel. The bright, warm air of the canyon cliffs is punctuated by the dark, dank, cave-like atmosphere of the tunnels. The sound of the diesel and the click of the wheels reverberate through these claustrophobic monuments to the ingenuity, tenacity, and sacrifice of the rail workers. Along the route, we pass through small trackside villages that are totally dependent on the railroad. Surplus World War II troop cars are used for storage and as homes for rail workers. Each member of the onboard staff has years of experience aboard first-class Mexican trains. Crew members choose to work for the Sierra Madre Express because it's more than just a job, says Train Master Mike Cowan.
It's family, or as they say, familia. We spend more time together than we do with our own families. We're 9 days together working and 5 days off, so we get to get pretty close over a period of time.
The Chihuahua El Pacifico line over which the Sierra Madre Express operates is manually controlled. For track and traffic information, the operating crews rely on telegraph messages and hand signals from rail crews along the route. The day's journey draws to an end as the train arrives at Divisadero. El Divisadero means the view. This stop provides the first spectacular vista of the Barranca del Cobre from its rim.
Welcome to Copper Canyon. Welcome to Copper Canyon. Here we are.
Looks like a canyon.
Oh, it's wonderful. Here we are.
Divisadero overlooks a tributary of the Rio Urique. The Copper, the Tararequa, and the Urique Canyons can be seen from here. Like so many cultures who live close to the land, the Tarahumara have a great appreciation for the natural world. According to tradition, the Great Spirit put the wonders of nature here for their eyes to enjoy. The canyons are among the greatest expressions of his love for the people. Tarahumara craftsmen bring their wares for sale at the Divisadero station. Their baskets have been woven from native grasses and pine needles for centuries. Many of the basket makers hike long distances from the depths of the canyon to market their wares. They arrive just before the train does and leave soon after it departs, only to repeat the cycle the next day. Not far from the station, perched on the canyon's rim, is the Posada Barrancas El Mirador Hotel. This modern hotel has 37 deluxe rooms and the gracious service that is the Valderrama hallmark.
When the persons come here, they say, "Oh," because we are right on the rim of the canyon, and you can see the canyon everywhere you just stay in the hotel, from the rooms, from the living, from the dining room. Every room has a balcony to the canyon. This hotel was built with mostly Tarahumara Indians who lives around the canyon, up those mountains. We didn't use any machines. Everything was handmade. And if you see all the ornaments and the tile, the walls is adobe. Everything is natural. We use everything from Mexico, from the area.
The morning light spills into the barrancas, revealing rivers and side canyons obscured by last evening's shadows. The sun warms the lobby of El Mirador as we ease into our first full day in the heart of canyon country. The train doesn't leave until late morning. There's time for a leisurely breakfast and a last shot of the view. Although peering down into the canyon is thrilling, nothing beats flying over it.
Everybody ready? Welcome to the canyon.
The morning helicopter flight starts from the hillside next to El Mirador and seems to plunge into the canyon from one of its balconies. As the whirring metal bird soars high above its chasms, the vastness of this magical land is revealed. An experienced pilot, Captain Rafael Novo, has given exhilarating aerial tours of the canyon for the last 2 years.
We are going to be going right through the Tararequa Pillars. The Tararequa Pillars are the guardians of the canyon, so says the legend. And they guard the canyons against all bad people. So any bad ones, please get off now because this is your last chance. As we pass through the pillars, because it's windy today, the helicopter may move a little bit, so nothing to be concerned. It's just a little air.
Novo has discovered many unique features in his hours of flying over the canyon.
This area, there's approximately 30,000 Tarahumaras living. And if you look over there on the left, you'll see one of their houses, a little house with a view.
The true scope and scale of the Barrancas del Cobre are difficult to comprehend without the bird's-eye view provided by the helicopter. No map or written description comes close to conveying the immensity of the land or the ruggedness of the terrain. To explore the depths of the Barrancas, it's necessary to reboard the Sierra Madre Express and travel a bit further north to the town of Creel.
As we get started this morning, we're going to head up to the community of Creel, which is 2.5 hours up the line. We're going to have the opportunity this morning, once we get there, to take a trip out to a place called San Ignacio and be able to interact with the Tarahumara Indians.
On the way to Creel, the train negotiates El Lazo. The loop is one of the few places in the world where the rails actually cross over themselves. Just a little further up the grade, the train crosses the Continental Divide. At 8,071 feet, it's the highest point on the railroad. The vegetation has changed to a more alpine regime. Expansive vistas extend as far as 100 miles.
And during the winter months, we'll get snow here. It's not uncommon to have snowflakes coming down alongside of the train, and snow will stay for a day or two and then it's gone.
This short trip through the High Sierra is a chance to relax, enjoy the scenery, and spin a few tales.
That's where they come here to the canyons, to relax and take it easy and enjoy the time. That's part of the beautiful thing of this trip. You are not rushing, you are resting, You're reading, you're talking, you are making good conversation, enjoying life.
Out of nowhere, the train comes upon an odd caravan. These adventurous RV enthusiasts transport their cumbersome land yachts from the Texas border over the forbidding Sierra Madre to the Sea of Cortez. There they camp, fish, or just cruise around. The train nears Creel, a rugged logging town of around 6,000 people. Creel is a melting pot for the region's inhabitants.
We have a mix of several cultures in Creel. We have, of course, the Mexican culture in Creel. We have the Tarahumaras who live on the outskirts of Creel. For instance, these little fields are all Tarahumara right out here. Then we have a small Anglo community, and then we have some of the Mennonite influence because down the rails towards Chihuahua is a Mennonite community. So occasionally in Creel you'll hear German spoken, which is kind of unique.
Creel is a mix of frontier town and tourist haven. It's the area's commercial center. It's also the most popular base for extended exploration of the lower regions of the Barrancas del Cobre. A visitor doesn't need to be a backcountry adventurer to enjoy the charms of Creel and its immediate vicinity. Local guide Pedro Palma knows about all there is to know about this place.
Creel is a fairly new town that started from the arrival of the railroad. At the beginning, it was really just in a small mestizo settlement. When I say mestizo, I say mixed blood. There's Indian and Spanish blood in this culture. Now it's becoming more and more a touristic town because train is the main attraction of this area. Train is still the only way to go across the Sierra, and it's still the best way to see the Copper Canyon or the Barrancas del Cobre.
In addition to the predominantly mestizo permanent residents, Tarahumara come here from deep within the canyon to sell their wares and pick up supplies. The Artesanías Misión store is the oldest in town. It sells Tarahumara carvings, jewelry, woven goods. One of its workers is Alejandrina Lopez.
Well, I came first as a tourist about 20-something years ago. At that time, I decided I may come and help, you know. I didn't know how, but then I said, I am an accountant from Mexico City, but then I said, someday I will go and help for 1 year. And I came in 81 and not only stay 1 year, stay 15 years now.
The store provides a reasonable outlet for the native artisans to sell their crafts. The proceeds help offset the operating expenses of a 60-bed hospital. The clinic has been here since 1967. It provides free care for the Tarahumara and all others who need its services. It's the creation of Jesuit missionary Father Luis Verplanken.
I found, when I saw so many children dying, that I decided I would stop the building of the church and open the hospital first. Was more important.
For the experienced backpacker, adventurer, Creel is the gateway to exploring the best of the Copper Canyon. For the more casual traveler, there are nearby opportunities to see more of the Tarahumara's world. It's widely accepted that the Tarahumara once lived in the outlying valleys of the Sierra Madre. They migrated to these canyons to escape becoming slaves of the Spanish invaders. For a glimpse at their unique and seldom seen culture, visitors are welcome to make day trips to the Tarahumara settlement surrounding Creel. Today, most Tarahumara live in timber houses. A few still live traditionally and supplement their incomes by opening their unusual homes to curious visitors. The best way to visit Tarahumara land is with a knowledgeable multilingual guide like Pedro Palma. Pedro is a mestizo and was raised with Tarahumara. He's arranged a visit to one of their cave homes.
We are in the nearest inhabited cave home near Creel. And this is a very traditional cave. It's about third generation already living here. It's a great story of the man who used to live here and passed away last December. Sebastian is how we refer to this cave as well, Sebastian's cave. He used to be the mailman between here and Huachochi, which is 150 kilometers from here. And there wasn't a road then. It used to take him about 10 days to get there. Also to the bottom of the canyon, which is Bato Pilas, 140 kilometers from here. So you're welcome to visit Sebastian's cave.
The Tarahumara are a proud, independent people who have clung steadfastly to their way of life. Sebastian's daughter, Maria, and her family live in a very traditional but slowly disappearing manner. Corn, a staple of life and religious practice, is grown in small patches throughout the canyon. Many Tarahumara live a semi-nomadic herdsman's existence. In the summer, they stay in their caves or rock shelters at higher, cooler altitudes of the canyon rim. In the winter, they move down to the semi-tropical depths of the canyon floor. Although traditional practices abound, the modern world has crept into Tarahumara life in some surprising ways. Though most of the Tarahumara profess to be Christians, theirs is a highly adaptive form of belief. Much of the old religion survives. These crosses are aligned with one of the Tarahumara's most sacred objects, the rising sun. The outside world knows these people as legendary long-distance runners. The Tarahumara call themselves Raramuri, or foot runners, and have been running some of the same trails through the canyons for hundreds of years.
Okay, running is not only a sport, it also means practicing the social life among the community, because they live scattered all over in the high sierras and deep in the canyons. And by practicing the race of the kicking the wooden ball, that brings the community together and gives them the opportunity to practice, as I say, the social life.
The race is set up between a series of posts placed approximately 14 miles apart. It can go on for several days.
In the Tarahumara race, often the winner is whoever is standing up. The loser will be laying somewhere along the trail.
Most visitors to the Copper Canyon settle for discovering the natural beauty that is easily accessible. There are a number of trips deeper into the canyonlands that, while more difficult and challenging, offer even greater rewards. One such journey is the road to Bato Pilas. The 48-mile ride down a dusty, unpaved road is a 5-hour adventure that takes the traveler into the heart of Barrancas country and to another place and time. The road can be treacherous. Even tours with an experienced guide are not for the faint of heart. Peter Robbins has hired an experienced driver for the trip to Bato Pilas. He's been traveling down into the canyons for 15 years and has special insight into negotiating these roads, like checking with locals on conditions ahead. Much of Mexico remains a wild land. A trip like this offers an opportunity to experience a still pristine part of North America. It's also a chance to discover how most members of the second largest North American native tribe survive. Along the route, there are several Tarahumara settlements. For many, life here is led much as it has been for centuries. They rely on subsistence farming and herding. But even this far from television, sneaker ads, and the Chicago Bulls, change is occurring. The Tarahumara may be the least assimilated natives on the continent. For centuries, they have steadfastly chosen to follow their own path. The improved road to Batopilas was opened just 15 years ago. The history of the town goes back more than 350 years, when the Spanish found open veins of silver in 1632. From 1880 until early this century, the town was the site of a very profitable silver mining operation. Travelers often find themselves lingering in Batopilas to savor its history and atmosphere.
I think one of the things that people find in Batopilas is a little secret world. Time has stopped in Batopilas. You can sit here and hear the chickens and see the burros going up and down the streets, and it's tranquil. And I believe in our world we're somewhat rushed with cars, computers, and radios and everything else, and there's just a little bit of tranquility down here, and that's something that Batopilas has to offer.
It wasn't always so tranquil in this sleepy little town. The Hacienda de San Miguel was once a place of ceaseless noise, dust, and clanging machinery. The silver ore mill here was supplied by 5 major mines. It produced 100,000 ounces of silver a month. The hacienda, built in the late 1880s, covered 20 acres and employed 1,500 men. Its builder was the visionary American Governor Alexander Roby Shepherd. In its time, it was one of North America's largest silver mines. Today, it's a lush, flower-filled place of tranquility and beauty. Bougainvillea and huge ficus trees have begun to reclaim the hacienda.
What is really unique is the history that's here. It literally comes out of the stones. I mean, you can see every building and understand what happened in each building and go up the stairs that people went up 100 years ago, and you can just sense the times and the situation that were here in those days.
Manuel Alcaraz now owns the hacienda.
Bueno, esta hacienda la desmantelaron.
The Hacienda de San Miguel was intact up until 1950. Then somebody bought it and sold everything made of iron. The roof, machinery, all the iron, and dismantled everything in the process. I always thought this would be a good place for me to keep my animals enclosed, like a corral, so I bought it in 1960.
Manuel and Peter have been friends for 15 years. Their dream is to eventually restore the hacienda.
Let's go down and see if we can find, I want to find the legs for the old pool table. Remember, they used to play pool in the basement? Let's walk and see how do we get out? In 1970, the river came in here and filled us all up with dirt, and Manuel and I made a deal and we dug it out. He found some workers and we dug it out, and we found the bases that they had built to put the pool table on in the old days, because the men would come down out of the offices, which were up above. ¿Recuerdas? Están jugando y tomando y... Oh, and they had an indoor pool here. I forgot that.
A lot of water was needed for the milling operation, not to mention the indoor pool. Shepherd built an ingenious aqueduct and turbine system that supplied both water and electricity. The only other place in Mexico that had electrification was Mexico City. The system continues to provide electricity to Batopilas today.
Entendemos que las visitas que nos hacen.
People come here to feel the way things were in the old days, and we are happy that they want to visit. We welcome them to Batopilas and will help them in every way to have a safe and relaxed stay.
The babbling waters of the Rio Batopilas carry many secrets. of them all none so elegant as the hidden jewel of the canyon that lies just a short distance from the town. Isolated deep in the most remote and rugged Barrancas country is a great monument to the faith, dedication, and diverse knowledge of the early Jesuit missionaries. This 17th century Spanish cathedral is commonly referred to as the Lost Mission of Sativo. Known in the mid-1700s as Angel de la Guarda Sativo, the mission was largely forgotten after the Jesuit expulsion of 1767. That the structure remains standing after centuries of neglect is a tribute to the building skill of the Jesuits and their Tarahumara laborers. The rail trip is only the starting point of the Copper Canyon experience. Without the rails, many of the natural wonders of this place would be inaccessible, except to the most robust adventure traveler. The rail route continues northeast to Chihuahua and on to Texas. The Sierra Madre Express turns around and heads back through canyon country. Different angles of sunlight and perspective on the return trip provide fresh views of the Barrancas.
I really had no idea how spectacular the visions were going to be.
People compare Grand Canyon with Copper Canyon, but you got to see it. It's another world.
This is the best trip I think I've ever had. I've been on a lot of them, to them.
The pine and oak woodlands give way to the lush tropical trees of the Rio Septentrion Canyon, which in turn yield to the cactus-studded Sinaloan thorn forest. Like a gateway to the canyon lands, the El Fuerte Bridge stands as a final engineering wonder. It is the longest bridge on the rail line. 1,637 feet of rail, wood, steel, and concrete spanning the Rio Fuerte. The rugged beauty of Copper Canyon and the Sierra Madre Mountains recede in the distance, but the adventure is not complete. The charms of traditional rural Mexico await the traveler in the historic town of El Fuerte. El Fuerte is a small colonial town named for the Spanish fort built to protect the colonists from attacks by hostile Indians. It was a frontier outpost from which conquistadors set out to explore and settle northwest Mexico and California. For 3 centuries, it was a major trading post for gold and silver miners who braved the nearby Sierra Madre. Today, it's a prosperous community surrounded by farmlands. Strolling the cobblestone streets, visitors are surrounded by colonial mansions. Once the homes of El Fuerte's wealthiest families, they now serve as hotels and offices. In El Fuerte, one is surrounded by the spirit of Mexico's past, the liveliness of its present, and its promise for the future. With the days in the canyon of vivid and lasting memory, the trip ends much as it began, a long, enchanting ride into the Mexican night.
This program sponsored in part by Amtrak's Coast Starlight, traveling between Los Angeles and Seattle. You reach your destination the moment you step aboard.